Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Peteman Reviews. The next review in our Legends / Titans Return saga is Galvatron. Now, the main difference between this Legends release and the Titans Return release is that Galvatron now combines confusingly with Megatron, and that he's also a considerably lighter shade of purple than he was when he was in the Titans Return for the European and US releases. I'm not entirely sure I like the colour scheme that much. I got it because it looked better on the internet, to be perfectly honest, than it does in the flesh, so to speak. That said, it's not too bad. I can live with it, and as I say, some of the detailing work is, in my view, a little bit better, but the slightly lighter shade of purple, which, let's face it, is almost lilac, I'm perhaps less convinced about. Okay, so this is Galvatron in his cannon mode. It's not too bad, is it, actually? I think it's reasonably convincing. You've got the big barrel, the fact that he can quite easily stand in cannon mode and look like a cannon is also pretty good. And the fact that it's not just, straight, so in other words, it's not just like that, which is how he pretty much is in the G1 version, so he can fire dead straight, is quite good as well, because it means cannons are more shaped like that, so that they can fire an arcing projectile. So that's a little bit more realistic. Yeah, it's not too bad in the cannon mode. A little bit, cheap and plasticky, but you've got to expect that to a degree on mass-produced products. It's not a third-party limited run. It's a mass-produced leader class. I think it's a leader class product. The purple on the cannon, I actually quite like that. It looks more like an energy weapon, and let's face it, Galvatron is meant to have an energy weapon, so that works quite well. Okay, so Galvatron is a triple changer. So he has a space cannon mode. Now you remember the original release is also a triple changer, where he transformed into a handheld gun as well, something which I believe was only ever used, to my knowledge, once in the comics, that was the UK comics, where he's briefly held by a human in order to get close and surprise Scourge and Cyclonus. Yeah, you have to read it. So that's, as far as I'm aware, the only appearance he's ever made in that little handout mode. In this mode, he has yet another weird alternate mode where he transforms into a spaceship. Yeah, I know, not common for Galvatron, but hey, there we go. So let's transform him into that mode now. To begin with, we just pop this off. So see, there's a hole there, that hole actually, and that pops off. So that's the cannon. Now this part, which is the barrel of the gun, which gives you different balancing position for it, is actually, if we flip it up, the spaceship itself. Okay, so what you now want to do, because this part here becomes like a back fin, if you like. I don't know why spaceships feel the need to have a back fin, because it's in space. There is no air to move. That's not too far off the final product actually. But what we then need to do, I'll just jut this out like so. So all we've done is we've just parted the legs a bit like that. In order to produce kind of an engine appearance to it, and the tank treads themselves need to obviously be moved. Okay, so it's flipping this back here. So what we're doing is that. Just do some alignment so you can just see how we're aligning that like so. Same again this side. Just flipping that bit out. Just doing a bit of a line in there, like so. Well, it kind of is a spaceship, but if it wasn't for the cockpit here, I'm a bit dubious about it, to be honest. I think this is the least effective of all the modes for Galvatron. You've got the cockpit here, which has, in this case, Megatron sitting in it to pilot it. And the gun itself will now attach, so you can just put it underneath am I trying to attach it? Okay, so the actual gun itself will attach under there. So what you just need to do is rotate this bit, like so. I'm just going to pop this back. I think that will go back, and then you just see you've got that there, got a hole there, and it goes. Just about goes in, yeah. It doesn't seem to want to stay in, I have to say, but it will go in. There we are, and it will stay in. There we are. Bloody ridiculous, isn't it? I don't like that mode, and I'll tell you something, you probably worked out from the video, it's the first time I've ever transformed it into the spaceship mode. I think it's why? What's the point? Honestly, is it just so they can have this bit like here and pretend that you're holding it like a gun? And, oh, look, now we've got a gun again. Bang, bang, it's like the original Galvatron. Hey, yay. No, guys, just don't. Waste of time. It's dreadful. What is the point? It doesn't look like a spaceship. It doesn't look like a spacecraft. It's just a guy with a cockpit and a big gun. It's terrible mode. It's pointless. I would rather they didn't bother with the spaceship mode. Don't make him a triple changer. Just have him with a good cannon. Actually, I'd rather they sorted out the flipping head. We'll come to that in a second. Actually, we'll come to it now. So that second went quickly, didn't it? Right, anyway, transform to robot mode. That's how we show you the head. So, start off by opening the cockpit here and pulling out Megatron. Put that to one side for the moment, I'll talk about them later. Right, let's get him out of this stupid, clunky... Right, let's put Megatron aside, get him out of this stupid mode and put a proper mode for Galvatron. So, start off by moving the legs down. These are the feet. Pop out like that. Legs do extend all the way down, and Galvatron actually has knees again. You may have noticed you've got this part here from there. Just rotates to the back like so once you've got the feet out, and that provides him with a rear part to his leg. Right, same deal on this side. This just flips down like that. That flips around like that. I have to say, I do quite like having back the proper knee pads here. That was always a big feature of Galvatron, and it's nice to have them back on there. This part flips down like that to reveal the waist, and then the whole thing, we'll just get these arms out of the way, we'll rotate round, so just put this back up there, so that's now out of the way, make sure that's out of the way down there, rotate the legs again, so you've now got the front here with all the bodywork and all the metal, the red is what I'm trying to say, exposed. Make sure these are down at the side here. Okay, arms, very simple. Very, very simple, down like that, and then you just flip out the hand. As is common now, pretty much most designs, that the hands are just contained within the arms, so same deal here. You've got the tank track there, that flips down, flip out the hand there. And then these parts, see if this is moved around like that, which it does into the cannon mode, just rotate it up like that, so you've got everything nice and level there. These parts then just flip down to make big shoulder pads. Okay, and now we have our headless Galvatron. I'm just going to mount his cannon. So you've got, again, this, which will nicely mount there. And there we have him. Right, move on to our headmaster, Megatron. Tell you what, move Galvatron out of the way, because now we should be able to focus on Megatron. Well, do you know what? It does look like Megatron. You know, a little bit of imagination. Even the colour schemes are right for Megatron, which is quite nice. As with most Titans, Headmasters, Nebulons, that's about the most level of articulation, along with the arms moving up, waggling up and down. So not a great deal, but that's predominantly because you need to transform to the head. Make sure your head is the right way, because it can snap off with Galvatron. And that is Galvatron, sorry, to move that there, that is Galvatron's head. It looks, it's a little bit like the G1 Galvatron, you know, with the crown effect and the face It's a little bit like it actually. It's not a bad interpretation. You then slot it into there, like so. I just want to check and make sure this one, because I can never remember which way around the head's meant to be. I think that's all right. It doesn't really look too much like Galvatron at the moment, does it? And this is where you then get the controversial bit. So you flip the chest down, like so, and out flips up the headpiece. There. From a side-on view like that, it's quite clear that it's two distinct separate components. When we move him back, it's a bit less obvious. It looks a bit better, doesn't it? A little bit more like Galvatron. From that view, you know what, that's not too bad, is it? That really does look like Galvatron with the face plate on there. Obviously the side view, well, shoulder pads get in the way, but if they're not in the way, it's obviously a separate piece. That's the controversial part with this toy, is the face piece, because the closer we get, and his face goes out of focus, but actually you get a big shadow on his face. It doesn't, I'm still zooming, I should be zooming out, it doesn't really work. The cannon is also a little bit of a problem too. It's so big that if you wanted to move his arm up, his shoulder pad gets in the way. It's quite difficult. You can have it in that position, but if you wanted it like that, as you can see, it's catching on the shoulder pad and gradually pulls the cannon out. So you do have to be a little bit careful as to how you position it. He can hold it, like so, but it's quite a tight fit there, so it doesn't really quite go in. So really, your only option is to mount it on there. So it will mount, it will move, but it does catch on the shoulder pad, which is a shame really, because otherwise this toy has quite a lot of good going for it. Just move him back there, do a little bit of a zoom in. As I say, the lower part of the legs are really good. I like the feet, I really like the knees and the proper joints coming back. I really like also the fact that he's returns to, you know, having this, oh, there we are. I forgot I zoomed in, just zoom out again. I also really like having this part again. That was such a feature of particularly the UK comic series, the fact that he had these parts jutting out of his knees. So I really like having those parts in it too, which was actually not in the original G1. They kind of appeared afterwards. Original G1 design kind of ended about there, so it's really nice to get those back. I really like seeing that. We then zoom up. You know, I quite like the chest. It's not too bad. It's really, to be honest, my main issue with this toy, aside from the silly jet mode, is the unnecessarily silly jet mode, because you know, you now got all this flipping kibble on the back that frankly is not needed. It's his head, the headpiece, and the fact that the cannon is actually too big for the figure. We compare him next to Mania King. You know, they're roughly similar height, surprisingly. Mania King is a bit bigger, but Galvatron's a bit stockier. Mania King has a lot good as well, and I actually think Mania King is probably, I don't think there's much problem about it, Mania King is a better Galvatron. But I now criticise the gun on the revised one, but actually the gun isn't bad. The colour's quite good. The colour's actually very good, whereas Mania King's colour's perhaps a little bit off. But all told, you know, they do work quite well. There are different ways to them. My favourite is Mania King, but Legends Galvatrons, you know, it's not a bad figure at all. And we just take Mania King away. It stands very well with Legends Legends Scourge. Of course, there isn't a Legends Cyclonus release. They did a rather stupid Armada. It's a rather stupid Combiner Wars version. But if we have our good old Generations Cyclonus here, you've got a rather good trio there, all different heights. They work well together, and we can even expand it further by adding another Scourge or a Sweep to it now with, I believe this one is the United, just stand him up, the United version of Scourge. You know, he's a bit shorter, but he looks good as well. And then if we add the G1 Cyclonus, we could even call him Armada. You have the full section, and then you could even have another Galvatron as well. But no, that's just going a bit too far, isn't it? Yeah, they look pretty good together, all told. It's nice that in this version here, I think the G1 Cyclonus is actually slightly taller than the Titan's Return / Legends Galvatron, but the Legends Galvatron is so much better than the G1 Cyclonus. Isn't it amazing how much technology has advanced? The original Galvatron, oh God, it's rubbish. It really is rubbish. I said in the earlier video that I did with Mania King that it's nice to finally have a Galvatron that's come out that's worthwhile having. And you know what, I'd pretty much stick to that, because the original version of Galvatron I just think was rubbish. I really did not like it. It's a shame really, because it was a great character, just a rubbish toy. If you don't want to shell out all that money for the unique toys or Tyrant or all the umpteen other versions of Galvatron with third parties which look fantastic, you could do alright with the Titan's Return or the Legends version. It's a good version of Galvatron. Transforms into correct alt mode, the cannon. Ignore the entirely superfluous, ridiculous alt mode of the spaceship. So disappointing that they introduced that, because it just adds unnecessary kibble to the robot and probably bumps up the price when it doesn't need it. And I'm disappointed with the headpiece. Otherwise, I think it's a very positive figure and very worth getting. If you want it in the Japanese variant, all you really get that's different is the colour scheme. You don't get any extras. You get a little comic in the instructions, but of course it's in Japanese. It's just the colour scheme. And for me personally, I think that colour scheme, I don't know how well it shows up on the camera, looks pretty good with these toys in front of me. Whereas if you go for the American and US release, the colour scheme is a bit more like Mania King. So it just really, which also goes extremely well with the purples of there. Whereas the Lilac Galvatron here perhaps blends a bit more with the blues and the purples, so it's kind of an in-between tone. It's entirely preference. That's really the only difference between them. Both look good. Both are worthwhile getting. I think that's pretty much it for this review, isn't it? Thank you very much for watching. Please do click on some other videos and subscribe, and I will see you for the next Titan's Return / Legends review. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.